What is feminism?
Uh, the
What is feminism?
Mm-hmm.
In the Western context, feminism describes the advocacy for women's rights based on political, social, and economic equality. But in the Third World, women aren't necessarily asking for equality.
What is feminism?
I think feminism is something that has to do with like women empowerment.
Advocacy for women's rights.
I think believing and like following through with like women's rights and like the strength of women and like the unity of women.
In the Third World, women do not necessarily want to fight against their traditional gender and cultural roles, but they do want their voices to be heard and the issues that they face to be acknowledged and addressed.
Can you, to the best of your ability, tell me what transnational feminism is?
To the best of my ability, I have no idea what feminism is.
transnational feminism is wanting the equality of the sexes, and the way that takes shape in different cultures and forms, and how that is represented internationally.
Transnational feminism, I would assume, is the belief that all women across all cultures should have equality.
Transnational feminism. Well, I don't know if I can really use my last definition for that, but I guess with transnational, I think it means, more of just relating to all different types of women across different cultures, recognizing that we all go through the same struggles, whether or not it be in a different form, but there's also similar solutions to those struggles.
Transnational feminism is an intersectional look at the issues facing women across borders and international boundaries. It is extremely important to understand that feminism around the world is different, and that we cannot take the Western definition of feminism as a universal truth. The issue in attempting to do that is that the Western world is consumed by their own reality.
Could you explain to me what a single story is?
A single story?
Yep.
I've never heard that term before.
I guess just having one person's perspective of something. Danger of that is that you don't get to understand the issue from all angles.
The concept of a single story is related to generalizations or stereotypes. Western media, literature, and discourses often paint non-developed or third world countries as incredibly impoverished and destitute. Popular images of places like India and Africa generally show beautiful landscapes contrasted with rural villages and slums where people live in crumbling shacks without technology, fresh water, or access to modern luxuries. And while these places do exist, Americans and Westerners come to believe that this description fits all of Africa or all of India, and that these people who cannot speak for themselves are just waiting to be saved by the white people, who look down upon them with patronizing, yet well-intentioned pity.
Do you think that there's danger in single stories?
I do think that there's danger in single stories. I think it depends on each certain situation. However, bias from the Western world, especially Americans' view, can lead to things that are pretty horrendous.
A single story, I guess, would be one person's understanding of an event.
And do you think that's dangerous?
Absolutely, because subjective experiences are often turned into objective truths, and that's not the case.
Many times, we as a society brush off or overlook the struggles of other countries, thinking that our problems are more severe and should be dealt with first. Feminist discourses coming from the West are no exception to this inflated sense of self. And while Western feminist discourses are important, the inability to incorporate non-Western voices or issues into our literature erases the voices of women across the globe. It's hard enough to get society to listen to first world women, but when first world women, who are ignored by first world men, ignore third world women who are ignored by first world and third world men, their voices become nothing more than transient whispers in the wind. The Vagina Monologues, a prominent piece of Western feminist discourse, claims to represent all women across the globe by highlighting different regions in annual spotlight monologues. Fortunate to have a few friends who have read or been a part of a performance of the Vagina Monologues, I asked their opinions about Eve Ensler's attempt to represent all women. What do you think about the spotlight monologues that have to do with women from across the world?
I think that they're, like, the perspective that they're coming from is like centered in our culture, more looking towards theirs, I guess. So I don't know, like, how accurately it depicts their stories.
Do you think that it's moving away from the point of these spotlight monologues?
Okay.
Like to show other country people, women, and problems women face in other countries. If the writer of these monologues is an American woman.
Yeah, because then that's kind of promoting that single story, like, sort of thing. You kind of want it to be a woman from that region talking about her experiences as a woman from that region.
It's tough because there are so many stories and a lot is told about a lot of different women, but I don't think that there could ever be enough stories told to be able to get like a transnational perspective.
While Eve Ensler has good intentions, her project ends up perpetuating the single stories that transnational feminists are trying so hard to erase. To conclude my interviews, I decided to ask my friends a few controversial questions to see how single stories have shaped their views in 2017. Do you think that motherhood is a form of feminism?
Motherhood is a form of feminism. I don't know. Jesus. Maybe. Sure.
Yeah. I think that being a mother gives you a lot of ability to kind of change how the next generation views feminism.
Interesting. I don't know if I would. I think it doesn't mean you're not feminist if you decide to be a mother. Absolutely not. I think, yeah, I do think it is, because in one way it is, in the sense that you're choosing what you want to do with your body, hopefully, if that's how you choose to enter motherhood. In that way, I would say yes.
Do you think that motherhood is empowering?
Yeah, I think that, like, because if, like, you're a good, like, you're a good motherly figure and you show that to your children, then they'll take those qualities and hopefully give it to and show their next generation, I guess.
Do you think that wearing a religious veil is a form of feminism, or could be considered a form of feminism?
Like wearing a hijab?
Yeah. Hijab or burqa or something,
okay.
Yeah.
I feel to those women, their religion is a strong holding of, like, who they are, and in their religion, women are supposed to wear such things, veils, religious veils. So to them, that must be, like, empowering to wear that, like, because that's what, I guess the Quran says. So to them, they're, like, respecting the Quran. So I get, like, it's empowering. So I guess, yeah, it could be, like, a form of feminism to them.
No.
Why?
Because I feel like a lot of cultures that do wear them are, like, it's required for them as women to wear them, and whether they like it or not.
So are veils feminists? Yes, veils are. Because it's a choice. Unless it's not a choice. If it's not a choice, then it's not feminism at all. But if it's a religious choice, then it's cultural. So we can't decide
I don't think it's a form of feminism, but I think that feminism can play a role in the ideas that people have about veils, like when people assume that women wearing veils like need to be saved. I think feminism can play an important role to break down that ideal, that that's their expression, that they choose to do that.
No, it's more of a societal religion. I think that's formed by the expectations that a society's, well, I guess not in our United States culture and society, but if you look at, and of course there are people in the United States who wear veils, religious veils, but no, I think that's something that's more historical rather than feminism.
Do you think that in this new age of technology with social media, more access around the world to each other, that women could start to develop stronger voices, third world women specifically?
I think they could, but at the same time, it's not as if they have the hardware resources to do it. Like, yeah, there's a software for it, but it's not like they're, third world women have, laptops sitting right in front of them for them to use.
Right.
And depends on the man as well. Like, what if the husband doesn't want his wife using a laptop?
Right.
Or doesn't want his wife using a phone? Like, you don't know. So, I would say they have the software to do it, but they don't have the hardware to go through with this. So it's as if they're still cut off from the whole world, no matter how connected we are.
If you look at, not even talking just about feminism, but when you look at how, like, the conflicts we have in this world, they're all based around single stories, if you think about it, in the sense that we're not willing to accept other people's differences, and because we're not recognizing where they're coming from, what the historical significance of it is. There's so much culture wrapped into those that we're just not willing to accept or even recognize as their own culture. And this is like what I've always remembered from 6th grade was when we were learning about what culture is, and I remember my teacher saying it's not weird, it's just different, and I don't think that's something that we accept broadly.
While these questions have no definite answers, and could and should be debated at length, there is no denying that motherhood in third world countries helps to empower and provide identity to those otherwise silenced by their society around them. For many third world women, motherhood becomes an integral way of defining themselves and their worth. Religious veils also provide a sense of self and a sense of security for many women across the world. To many Muslim women, wearing religious veils helps them feel more confident in their bodies, as they know that only one man will ever see their full beauty. Some find that religious veils keep them safe in marketplaces and other large crowds, as they are spared from catcalling and other forms of sexual violence. I urge you now, armed with this new understanding of single stories, to look for ways in which single stories have influenced your life, and actively fight against the perpetuation of incomplete truths.